How's it going, everyone? It is Thursday, August 8th, 2024. Let's get into the picks from the prior video. A lot of picks that we had, a lot of them that were closed. Let's first go over the earnings time spreads. So first, we have VFC. We had this one that we took actually not yesterday, but the day before. We took it on the 6th. It came down yesterday, got dragged down by the market. We got in for a 15-cent debit, and we got out this morning for a 20-cent credit. So that was a 33% win on the position. So good win on VST. Our patience was actually rewarded this time as we were able to take advantage of that market decline. All right, second time spread here, VST. So this morning on VST, we got in yesterday. We took the 74 calls for an 85-cent debit. I got out this morning here for a $1.18 credit on the open in the first candle. I adjusted my profit target a little bit. It was originally $1.25, but I figured I'd take decent profits on the open. Ended up hitting that profit target, so I got a little bit too antsy, but still great profits in VST. It's a nice climb higher, and I actually may tag that for later. Hood. We took the 17 calls yesterday for a 22-cent credit. Got out this morning for a 30-cent credit. And an interesting note here, I got out immediately at the open. This was the first time spread that filled, which tells me that my order was closer to the credit bid than the credit ask. And if you look at Hood, there's a little bit more room I had. I'd probably had, instead of 22 cents, I probably could have taken actually 50 cents, 50% on this time spread, but didn't end up happening. That's okay. You know, you can't always get it precisely right, but I got a nice 33% win on that time spread, and I actually adjusted my profit target on the open. So in the AM hours, it was 28 cents, and then when I looked at the pre-market moving here, I saw that Hood didn't really move too much pre-market, so I actually upped my profit target from 28 cents to 30 cents. So that was a nice move over there. We can take out Hood, and then we had Sedge. So Sedge, I got in yesterday. I took the 24 calls for a 53-cent debit. I think I have it over here, actually. Yep, for a 53-cent debit at 2:50 p.m. I'm going to get the charts in here later today. And then I actually scratched out of the trade in the morning. Sedge did ended up being in profit later in the day. About an hour later, I got some nice profit on that. I'll wait for it to load here. So I scratched out of the trade, had an opportunity to profit, but I figured I'd take the scratch in the morning. And you'll see that Sedge had a bit of a tail on its candle over here in the AM. So far we had two wins on our time spreads today, one win on our time spreads from the 6th, which is nice. Got rid of a lot of those guys, and we got a break even on Sedge, which I will still take. And here is the chart on that. So it had a gap down. It didn't gap down a ton, and then you can see immediately on the open, it started to fill in that gap. So over here, if I look at Sedge right now on my chart, yep, Sedge is trading close to about 70 cents credit. So certainly had a chance to take profit on this stock. The clue here is that we didn't retrace this green candle. I just didn't know what would quite happen in the AM, but we found a lot of support on this candle, and then we managed to rally up. So that was the potential here. Kind of balancing out how patient or how not patient I should be with some of these. And sometimes there's always like a trade-off here, but so far the patience has been working. Patience would have worked on Sedge, right? But it wouldn't have quite worked on VST. And I think it really depends on, VST over here. You've pretty much got all the way back to $74, right? That's when you want to take profit, right? Because you're right back at your price and you want to get out of the trade. So That is how it is. Take out Sedge. I gave 2 picks yesterday. First, ARMK as a day trade short, and I gave UPST as a day trade long. So here was the trade on ARMK. We had a gap up from earnings, and then we had a reversal pattern. So here was the reversal pattern on the day. Excuse me. We had a gap and go. Then we stalled for a little bit, and then we got some long red candles and heavy selling that made a new low of the day pretty quickly. And the stock started to lose its relative strength. Now, after this move here, we came back, we tested the open, couldn't get anything going during this bounce right here. And if I put up the SPY overlay, oops. All right, so that was kind of our clue here. We started going down while the market's going up, started to flatline over here, and then the market, we started to tank down with the market. So I got it over here while the stock was compressing as the market was going up higher. So I got in, I'll show you right where I got in. Got in right here at the 1240 candle. Needed one more retest, and then we got a little bit of a descending triangle coming down here. If I were to draw a trend line, a little bit of a descending triangle, you can see we're getting slightly lower highs here. And we're keeping the same lows, and then we broke through with some market tailwind, and I took profits, about a 20-cent profit, so I took a decent amount of profits here. You see the stock did continue on lower, but I was unsure for a couple of reasons on this stock. And I'm going to take out the SPY overlay. The first thing is that we had the high of the day, so I didn't know if we would get resistance somewhere around here, 33.57, and I took profits around 33.60. You can see that the stock did actually end up getting pretty close to the gap fill. Didn't quite get there at 33.23, but we got pretty close. And then we started to reverse in. So looks like that was more of the resistance line here. We also had the 8 EMA come up to play, as well as a VWAP-E. So didn't know which of these lines would come into play, but I think targeting that 8 EMA yesterday, 33.48, AVWAP-E looks like responded 33.43. So there was some support here before the gap fill. We also had the SMA 100. So we had a couple lines of support here. Didn't want to push my luck, especially on a D1 chart that's reversing back in the range. I'm not as comfortable with this setup. So I just took the profits when I did. And I didn't think too much about that. All right. UPST. Beautiful move yesterday. But we just didn't quite have the market to get in on this stock. So I mentioned earlier in that video, or in that video yesterday, that I was eyeing it in the first part of the day, and then I just completely missed this opportunity. I think here is a nice entry point. Getting over here at 1045 is a decent entry point as well. You can see how it held up really well to the market. Get in at 1045. You can ride this guy up higher and exit at the double top over here. So held up. I mean, it still held up pretty well, all things considered, but it did shed away some of the gains. We got a deep pullback, and now this bounce has been fairly wimpy. So no trade on UPST, right? By the time we found the stock, it was getting over here. We wanted to see a bit of a pullback, and it hold this level, right? Hold this level right here at 120. You see this level, how it tested it twice. Move up over here a little bit. Tested this level twice, but then we cracked through it here at 155, and it just wasn't enough to get to hold. The market was just a little bit too much that day. It can only handle so much selling pressure. And then there wasn't really any LRSI opportunity later in the day. We had this candle here. We needed to see it hold a little bit, and it didn't hold, and it failed. So that's when you'd want to get out of the trade if you did bite on that candle. But at that point, it's really late in the day. There is a lot of bearish momentum here, and the stock has just lost its relative strength. So UPST is a no trade. Okay, so I did take 2 swing longs yesterday. The first was Qualcomm. So I really liked Qualcomm on this D1 chart. You can see how it's been resisting this SMA 200 while the market has been rallying. if we look at it a little bit zoomed out here on the M30 chart, I think we can see the tail here. So we do have a bit of a higher low here. We did break through this trend line, but we're just hitting this point a lot of times here. Buyers and sellers are still fighting out, but it's doing a pretty good job considering that the market has been a lot stronger on the move up, and then it's starting to fade out on the move down. So still leading on this 200-day SMA. I actually got in here at around 162, and I added at 157. And if you're in the one option chat, that ad was what I posted. So I'm at a 1.5x position, willing to hold it through some heat. I like what I'm seeing in the market here. So far, we have a test. We could see a potential triple top over here. Get to the market analysis in a second. And then on the next market move lower, I can get in on the stock. Now, I have some extra staying power because I'm confident in my market analysis. So even if the stock doesn't drop right away, if I get the market right, it'll still be dragged down by the market, even if it's showing some relative strength. And that's enough for me to, one, profit on the stock, and then two, really see how that stock, kind of performs on the drop. It has a chance to regain its footing if it loses its footing in any sort of, medium intraday time frame like an M30 or an H1 time frame. Okay, so that's the one I took. Second one I took over here is MRK. I took the MRK. I took the September 20th $120 puts for a $9.55 debit. I think my entry price was not as optimal. It did have a bit of a bounce here. I think I could have gotten a better price closer to about $8.50, but I'm not sweating it too much. I knew I was willing to take a little bit of heat in the position. That's the only optimization where if this level ends up holding, because we do have some trend lines coming into play over here, if this level ends up holding, right, I will have at least a bit of a cushion where I can take profits on this trend line bounce if we get a retest. But since I entered kind of right around that area, I don't have any cushion. So I'm kind of waiting to see what MRK does, but I have time, right? Look, I have 6 weeks on this. I'm really not panicking on any sort of candle, right? I'm treating this like I would with an M5 chart where I'm just watching the price action. We got a big move here. We're in a bearish channel. We're just going to be grinding lower. And I think I want to be entering on, if I put over here, this might be the channel here. So I just want to be entering on these bounces that get faded. And then I will get a very nice price. Okay, so what is the market doing today? So on a D1 chart here, we know that longer term, we are mildly bullish fundamentally. We know, to me, this is some seasonal weakness. There's a normal correction happening here. There are always corrections in times of bullish trends, and actually the average correction from peak to trough in a calendar year that has gains is 11%. So in any calendar year where we make a gain, there's an average decline of about 11%. And so far, our decline here is more like 8%. So all that's to say that this is a lot of volatility, and volatility is just a natural part of markets. And if you're an investor, this is an opportunity to get in on assets at a very cheap price. If you are a trader, you can day trade the side, and as we're seeing here, we have an opportunity to take some swings. Now, I don't think there's anything that has materially changed about economic news or long-term tailwinds like AI, like just bullish momentum. Potentially broader sector rotation, RSP and IWM are things that we're watching. But market is starting to pay more attention to things like rate cuts and economic releases. If we look at the M5 chart and we look at the after hours chart of that, we got this big pop up at 8:30, and I said, what the heck happened at 8:30? There's nothing really major. Turns out it was initial jobless claims, which came in at 237K actuals versus 233K expected versus 240 expected, right? So that's pretty much in line, and we got a huge pop. So what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that if jobless claims, right, are doing less than expected, right? So we're getting less jobless claims. People are paying more attention to these economic numbers, even if they don't end up being anything material. So to me, it's just something to watch for. I don't think it's going to change the whole story. To me, it just adds to the volatility. And we know that when there's going to be economic release in the future, that markets may be a little bit more sensitive to that in this longer term time frame when they're not so sensitive to that in the bullish trends that we saw. Okay, so that's that. We don't have to dissect the initial jobless claims here. I think it's not very relevant. Same thing with one unemployment reading, not very relevant. We are looking for trends over time that stick. Right, one data point is not enough information. Okay, so long-term technical bias, we know I'm a -2, which is pretty much bearish. We know that the last leg of the rally was a light volume drift higher. We have heavy selling, higher lows, lower highs, lower lows, technical breakdowns through a VWAP-Q, through the SMAs, through low plus trend lines coming up over here. We also have a little bit of news. Final technical confirmation here. We got this little sell signal, right? Sell signal over here. So bottom dropped out on Friday. This is the shorter term bias. But right now, what we're looking for the longer term is that we're looking for a drop. And we know that these drops are going to be fast and swift. And my plan is to take gains into the drop for most of my swings because the bounces tend to be pretty tall. So I take gains into the bounce, into the drops, and then wait for the bounce. That might take a week or two, and then we reload. So let's look at what happened last year, right? So you see, we have a move here. All right, we're bouncing up higher. We're getting a rejection, we bounce up higher, get a double top. We start to crack through here. So you short, right? Short. You're holding these gains. You get a little bit of a bullish hammer. Okay, this is a good time to take in some gains. Lock in some gains here, right? We're waiting for the sidelines. Jump up over higher. So you lock in some gains on September 27th, and then you wait about 2 or 3 weeks here. We get the second crackdown. We're poking through here. On the 18th to the 19th, short again over here, hit the 200-day SMA. We're moving over here, take some gains. You know, you might day trade the rest of the side. You wait for the next bounce, and hey, look at that. Now we're getting the reversal. So the bounces can be tall. They can last some time. And I don't really want to be caught waiting in those times. So I'm going to be, getting in on these weak pullbacks when the bounce starts to stall. And we know that we're a little bit early. There hasn't been too much stalling yet. But if it stalls for, a couple of days over here, and then we start to move lower, sellers start to make their move, that's when you can really, really time it if you want. And but I don't think I'll have to worry about that because my relatively weak stock should be rolling over as the market starts to stall. That's how I know that they are relatively weak. Short-term market bias here. I'm mildly bearish to neutral at the moment. If we take a look at the M30 chart over here, we had this upward sloping trend channel. We broke through the downside of the trend channel yesterday, so that tells us that this trend is now no longer validated. Now we're looking to see if we can actually get a new high. So we had a series of higher highs, higher lows, which formed that channel. We broke that channel, coming back, and now we are potentially going to be making a lower high, and that would set us up for a lower low. So I think there's a decent opportunity here. The other case scenario is that we may chop around for a little bit, and we may have to digest some of these gains for maybe another 2, 3, 4 days, and then we get the move lower. So I'm not exactly sure when it's going to happen, and no one's exactly sure when it's going to happen. We're just trading the opportunities. We know that this bounce has been weak because sellers have been coming in the entire time of this bounce. As soon as we got to the 100 SMA, whack down. Another test yesterday over here, compress, fighting, whack down, and make a new low. We're bouncing back higher today. We so far have not been able to touch the 100-day SMA, right? Sellers are coming in earlier. Now, we could still touch it, but to me, this reads that if sellers are coming in here, they are anxious to unload shares. This move up has been pretty weak. After the first 3 bars, we've seen tiny body candles and then a lot of sideways movement. We can't quite get long. We can't quite get short. So we're just waiting to see who's going to prevail at this time. This is a great opportunity because this is going to set us up for a move one way or the other, especially for day trading. So don't be mad about being in these compression zones. These are the breeding grounds for trends. All right, so intraday action here. Got a gap up. Quick test of the gap. We held more than halfway. Nice long green candle. Okay, so that tells us that there's some firm support here. We get follow through. New high of the day. Okay, small buying opportunity here. You could be cautious, take gains when the trend starts to stall. Trend stalls here after a very short amount of time. So stalls after about an hour in. We're flatlining. Buyers and sellers are paired off. Not really going anywhere. Buyers are getting a little bit of support here. You can see this higher low coming here once at 11.15 and then 11.50. We're able to poke above this new high. So far, it's marginal. We're testing the breakout levels here. We may fall back into the range. So this might be a choppy range, and this might be some equilibrium. You can see the volume is also tapering off over here. So right now, I am neutral to mildly bearish. I'm more inclined to favor the bear side or the short side for 2 reasons. 1, we are close to major D1 resistance. 2, this bounce was short. And then 3, the long-term market bias is bearish. So we know that long-term sellers can always come in over here. I got an alert for something. I guess it was WFC, which may be my pick today. So why do I like WFC? And this is going to be a swing short. So let's look at the D1 chart first. Out of a lot of bank stocks, this is very, very weak. Oh, there's Ironwood. I think that's Ironwood. So we had a long period of this stock doing absolutely nothing, right? It's just compressing here ever since March, going sideways. Then we get crack, 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 crack. Very big drop on heavy volume. Find some support here. Coming back higher, but it's not really getting a ton of buying here relative to the market. You can see how yesterday it was kind of rallying higher, didn't quite reach the SMA, reached it the other day. It's hitting some selling pressure at this SMA, and I think this is where I'd want to get in on this trade. So here are 2 things that I want to see here before I take Wells Fargo short. So we're getting in through the gap. And to me, I think this is a good chance for me to get in on this trade. And I'd want to see this market close below the 100-day SMA and Wells Fargo also close below its SMA. Otherwise, I may get out of the trade. So Wells Fargo long, I'm going to take it right here. And this is the stock pick that I'm going to take. I'm going to take the 920 calls, and I'm going to take the $60 calls. Sorry, $60 puts, my bad. For $760. I'm going to do that in 2 minutes once this candle finishes. We got a rejection. We're breaking into the gap. We really don't have a ton of momentum to break through the 100-day SMA. Now, if the market breaks to the 100-day SMA, right, and it really rallies, I may exit WFC depending on when this stock depending on how the stock does. So I like what I'm seeing here. We're close to that resistance, filling in the gap. We are just playing it nimble if we ended up getting into this stock. Okay. So that is going to be my pick for the day. And notice how we're balanced across sectors, right? We got something in chips, something in healthcare, something in finance. So I like to be balanced when I'm taking a lot of swings. You don't want to overweight on a certain area because that would mean that to me, that would mean that what's it called? Any piece of news could really weight you one way or the other. Okay, so I have my order out, 760, and you can see we're getting a lot of parity on these. So the $60 puts, they should be worth, if you're trading on parity, the $60 puts should be worth 720, and we're getting them for about 765. So getting a ton of nice value. On those puts. And we are in. So we're in Wells Fargo short. I like what I see here in this stock, and I have my game plan set. Okay. Some other picks for today. 2 time spread picks. First is Unity as a time spread. Let's take a look at this chart. You can see first of all that the price is decent enough to take the time spread. We have times exceeded is 13, so it's still good. It's a little bit higher than what I usually take, but the difference is super, super high, and that's going to be a major source of cushion and profitability. So if the difference exceeded, if the times exceeded is between 10 to 15%, the difference has to be above 1. Now let's look at my second pick here, which is ACAM, much higher price, lower option liquidity. So the difference times exceeded here is 0, but the difference is 150. So a lot of very, very high difference. I'm waiting to see if the market gets any sort of drop here. If it does, then ACAM could come down a little bit. And I may want to get another position here, another strike price on this stock. So just waiting to see a little bit on ACAM. But so far, it looks like the 92 calls could be pretty good. So we're just going to wait and see what happens today on these stocks. So those are going to be our 2 picks, but we will certainly take them today. And I'm just going to add them to the YouTube picks. Okay. All right. Now, finally, let's see if there's any day trades we can look at. So I mentioned the short side. Let's see what's looking good on the short side today. I'm going to sort it by range. GTLB is very, very nice. Saw this one earlier today. Testing that low again. Still has to get through that level. Very choppy stock. You can see that it's on some support, but if it can break through that level, I think we are in good shape on this stock. IRWD. This is a nice stock as well. Little LRSI pullback. Kind of stalling here a little bit. So test. I would like to see some sort of a descending triangle on this guy to get in. So I'm going to set an alert over here. We'll see if IWD drops or if it just happens to be done for today. Billy just broke through its trend line. Has some room to that 200-day SMA or 100-day SMA, sorry. Not a ton of room, but has a little bit of room. So not the worst stock, not the best stock. Yeah, you can see here how it's finding some resistance and then it's coming down. It's decent, not my favorite. The other one I liked here today too was I. So it's on this low minus trend line coming in all the way from the 8th. There's also some 1OTL now trend lines here and also a 1OTL balanced trend line. So I looks pretty good. You can see how it's really selling off over here. Got some nice volume, got a nice head of steam. We could break through here. Doesn't have a ton of room though, in my opinion. Maybe something like 30 cents of room. So it's doable. It's not the best. I could maybe take 20 cents on this guy and call it a day. So if I had to pick one, geez, I don't know. I really do not know. Let's do a quick scan here. See if anything is looking bad. ACN, we haven't seen this guy in a while. Nope, not great. I'm going to go to my custom search here. Let's go to relatively weak. TGNA. TGNA, hey, look at that. Okay, some decent volume, some good volatility. There's I's coming down here. I like TGNA. Look at this volume coming in on this guy, breaking through these levels. Some support here, some resistance here. Yeah, I like TGNA. And I think that this is going to be my pick. It's just a really choppy stock, though. Really choppy stock. It's good. It's not my favorite setup, though. Okay. TGNA could work. MODG here. Yeah, I'm like an I. I think I'm going to take I over here as a short. That's going to be our day trade short for today. So I'd want to see us close below this candle, which we might be doing right here. Let's see if we get, let's see what the market does here. The stock does here. I'd like to see a bit of a tail, maybe a little bit of follow through. And then if this candle holds right here, then I'm fine with getting in on I. All right. So that's it for today's video. A lot of stuff here, a lot of picks, but hope it was helpful. And we will take a look at how these picks did in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching.